Hello, this is Dan Campbell, Tone Designs. I am giving you a video tutorial on setting up your artwork for an I-Image machine. And so we're going to start with the document setup in Illustrator. If you don't have a template set up already, all you do is set up a doc. You go to Document Setup, go to Edit Artboards, and put in 18 inches wide by 22 inches tall. That's the size of the pusher frame. That's live area that will actually print data onto the screen. And so we have certain areas where we want to start our artwork. And so I have my 18 by 22 inch board and my imprint area, my maximum imprint area that I want the art to not go beyond is going to be, let's say 15 inches wide by 18 inches tall, max. That's pretty standard for a lot of people. And then, so I also then hit my center mark under Align to Artboard. And I want to move this artwork. You see it's down and 2 inches below the outer document size. The reason for that is your screen frame out here will sit outside here like this. And so you'll have a total of 6 inches from the outer edge of your screen frame to the inside where the artwork will land. So given all this space from the edge of the screen frame into the live area, you're going to want to start your artwork roughly about 2 inches down in the template. And it's different for different shops. Some are, 2.25. Some are 1.75 down. Some are 1 inch, 1.5 inch. I've seen them in different areas, but in general, it's about 2 inches down. And the area, again, the area in your template above your live area, your maximum imprint area that you're going to put your artwork into is still live printable area. And that's why you got your registration marks up above and your job info. But this, we're going to make that a maximum sized template. So all you do is with a stroke on there, you just, you actually, I don't even think you need a stroke on it. Let's turn the stroke off. So no stroke, no fill, and just go to guides under view and then make guide. Yeah, so it just turns it blue. But that was on my top artwork template. So I'm going to unlock this, drag the box down to my registration guide, and now make guide on there. Make guides, and then lock that down. Then I can hide that if I want. Notice I have a registration mark down here at the bottom. And when you put artwork in here, the I-Image reads all of from left to right, all the way from end to end, goes across and reads the information. This is all clear down to here is all information that it's going to read. So if your artwork, let's say, is only a left chest, plop this in here for a minute, move it up to the top on the art layer. Let's say the art is a left chest and it's going to go over here. You don't want the I-Image to read a file that is this long. So what you'll do is take this registration mark, move it up to the bottom, near the bottom of that left chest, and then also edit your artboard by dragging it up. And so you're going to end up cropping it right to there. So that's the size of the file you're going to send for a left chest print. This is going to be quicker, save you more production time on the I-Image machine because it's not reading all that extra space at the bottom. And same for fullbacks or whatever. If it's not really going down to here, drag it up and crop it. So let me get backed into this artwork, and I'm going to lock the background down. Now I'll bring that with me. Bring that in. Can't bring it in on a locked layer. Copy, paste. I'll size that up a little bit. Center it. And move it onto a new layer. Just drag it down to the bottom, and I'll just call that T. So we're going to get rid of that later on. And then I'm going to take the artwork, select all that, group it, copy, paste, select my actual layer I want to paste into, paste it there. So your artwork, this is like a back print. It's not obviously a large back print, but it's going to be roughly about up here to the top. So let me stress to this area up here. Doesn't matter if it's hanging, a little bit below, a little bit above, but somewhere near this line, you want to be at the close to the 2-inch mark. And since that's got a little bit of a point to it, you could drag it up pretty close to that and still be fine. Same with arches. Like if you had an arch and the artwork was kind of going like this, that's going to appear because the width is of the circle, for example, is wider. It just looks wider out here. So you want to pull this up a little higher, and with arched type artwork, just so it doesn't look like it's just sitting too low. Most of us know that. And so centered, I'll click that, just make sure it's snapped to center. And that's pretty much it in terms of the art template. You can delete this. You don't want to include the T when you go to print it. It's just so you can view the artwork with a colored background when you go to save this as a production file. But while you're building the separations in here, like you could build them in here and then copy it over, or you can build your separations in here. And right now I want to ungroup this, and I want to hide my guides, just kind of so I can see what's going on. And the job info, I'm going to lock that. And I'll start to build my separation. And I'm going to do this just so you can see how a file is set up, stacked in layers versus broken out on different pages. You don't want to do it how we used to do it manually, and change all the colors to black and have them on separate pages. And that's kind of an archaic method. And not that it's wrong, it's just not necessary. And there is a more proper way to do separate vector separations. And because you have a CTS machine, you're going to want to send that in the most accurate, the best method, the most efficient method. And the reason I say that is because if you've got a 14 color press, let's say it's a, I don't know, 18 color press, and you got 12 colors in your job, you don't want to break this apart and send 12 separate files, one for each color. That's an archaic method, and it's also time. It's a time suck in production because you're loading, 12 jobs, 12 separate files, and when you're doing it in this more accurate method, you can load one file that has all of the colors in it. So you're loading the job in the I-Image machine one time, and then it'll come into print production um, as a folder that'll have all of the color separations nested inside the folder. And on that machine, in print production, you can then select the individual color that you want to print, get your screen ready. Let's say the base is on a 156. So you got to get the 156, load it up, print your base. Um, and uh, and then move to the next color, which might be a 230 or a 300 mesh. So it's just more efficient that way. Let's go to extremes and say you're loading in 40 jobs a day or 80 jobs a day for some bigger shops. You especially don't want to load 12 colors, times 40 different jobs, because then you're loading that much more. I mean, you're taking up an extra hour a day at least just in load time onto the I-Image machine. So, you can get a lot of screens done in an hour if you're only loading one at a time. So it's just more efficient. So let me look at this artwork. First, I want to take the white. It's assigned a top white spot color. We know that because if you double click on it, it says the color type is spot color. Those colors print out. Process colors can print out also, but it's kind of a different story. This color mode here, CMYK, is just for in the file color preview, how it's built up. It doesn't really matter. Doesn't have to stay on CMYK. It could be HSB, RGB, LAB, grayscale. So could be any of those, and it'll still print out as a spot color separation. And so that's the top white that's actually going to print. But I'm going to color it because during the separation process, we're going to be using separation preview, and I'll show you that here in a minute. But I'm going to color it a light blue. Click OK. And then I'm also going to create a base white. One base white. And I'm going to number them. Spot color. And I'm just going to color this another different color. I'm picking my colors for a specific reason. I want a green over that light blue because when I choose separation preview, it's going to multiply those colors and show me my trap for registration. So I click OK, and that's my base white. I got the top white. That'll be number 3. And the orange, it will be 2. And as you see, that's lab color. I don't really care. That came in from the art file itself. And then we want to take the white copy that, Control C or Command C, and create a new layer and paste in front and drag that paste in front up to that top layer. So in the top layer, we will call this top white, just so I can keep things in order. It's not necessarily the stacking order here, how they will print out, but it is here in the swatch list. So back down to the didn't bring it over, that copy and paste. Grab those again. Copy, paste it back, drag it down to the bottom there. So that did make a copy. Yep. Okay. And I'm actually going to move that down below. And then move that up. Call that base white. I'm only naming these just so that I can keep track of where I'm at during the building of the art file. And I'm going to select that and color it base white. So they got the base and then the top white. Okay. And then the art, little flower art and the auburn color. So I'm going to lock these and then hide them and just deal with this for a second. So that's the orange. And I'm going to unlock the base. I'm going to copy, paste behind. Base white. Copy, paste behind. Drive it down to the base white. And then color that. Make sure I still got it there. Yep. So I'm going to color that, the base white. But here, I want to choke this. So I'm going to add a stroke of a color. Now, some people will stroke it 0.5 and let's from the center mark, and they will create another color that will not print out in the separations. Like they'll delete that in the end, or they'll manually knock it out. I don't do that. I create what I call all there. It's already up there for me. I have a computer white. So on my stroke, I'm going to switch to my stroke or my outline and stroke it. And this is, I call it knockout white. And it's a process color, not the spot color. Process, there is no such thing as a process white. So we can use that as a tool because it won't print out and you can't overprint the process color. So we're going to use that as our stroke. So click OK. 0% in the CMYKs. And then go to the stroke color and type in 0.5 and then stroke from the center out. So there's no other color out here, so it's not going to interfere with that. So I could just stroke from the center out. And you see it, you see that stroke on the white back, on the navy background, but you don't see it when I turn that, turn that off. And this is what you see in a normal production file with no shirt color. So let's show that again. And then here's the kicker. Let's close this window and go to separation preview. You will find that under window, drag down to separation preview and check that window. And then it'll show up like this. And then I keep it in with these three other windows: attributes, info, and separation preview. So these two, attributes and separation preview, you're going to use these back and forth. It will only show in CMYK color mode in your document. So for example, if I go to color mode and change it to RGB, separation preview is grayed out. You can't access it or do anything with it. It only works under the color mode of CMYK. Now, if I click overprint to get a preview of how it's going to separate out, and I turn off the CMYK channels, because that's showing my CMYK shirt color background. What overprint does is it takes your color that you're using. That's why I colored this white or light blue and then a green. So it multiplies those two colors in a transparent method. So I want to turn off the CMYK so I can just view the spot colors. And then I can turn off the eyeballs on the every other color and just look at the base. And those are going to print out. And the reason they're going to print out is because even though I've shown my top white, here, there, I didn't have the layer turned on. You see how these just turn a little darker, and they'll go even darker depending on what color I'm using. Let's say I want a little purple in there. So I've made my base white a dark green. And if I just view the dark green, that's not enough contrast. Let me give you something else. Yeah, let's go magenta. So you got the base white, and then you put that little sky blue over top of it for the top white, and you can see that that's showing you that it's overprinting correctly. And that's not showing anything over top of here, but this is showing your stroke. And then we show the orange, and that's setting over top of it. And that orange over top under attributes is set to overprint. If I turn overprint off while I have the fill selected on the orange, it just previews the color, but it doesn't show you the underbase because it's going to knock out that color from the underbase. So if it's not told to overprint, it's going to knock out the color above it or below it, which would be your base. So let's turn the orange back on to overprint, and that shows you your trap. So remember, this is stroked with white. This is 0.25 out and 0.25 in. So this is my line right here, and that's the stroke out. Just to give you an idea of how these files can separate out. And setting them up like this, and you send this file, it's going to separate out in the RIP this same way. So that would be your base, and then this would be your top white by itself. And then the orange is printing like this. And now we got to make this flower up here print out properly also. So right now, these are just laying over top of each other, which is how you normally build artwork, right? These are transparent because transparency is set to 25%. And, if I set it to 100, you can see the artwork in its full opacity. And with this one overlapping this one, these are grouped. Ungroup those. So yeah, with these two overlap, and this is 25, this is 25, but they overlap here, that's going to end up being 50%. I'm not going to underbase this because I want those to be translucent and print straight to the shirt. And the opacity of the ink lay down, they'll probably do a double pass, or they may use a lower mesh and probably do 45 line screen. And so those dots will hold up pretty well. And maybe they'll do a 230 mesh on this for the halftones. So what I would do is take this whole thing and go to Pathfinder, also found under Windows, and come down here to Divide and Trim. Ungroup it, see if it did it correctly. So what it did, sliced everything up, and so what you see is how it's going to be broken up. So now I have to select all of the halftone area. So I'm going to select same appearance and hide those. And then I'm going to grab something here, go to select same fill color, and then come up here to unite. That's going to regroup that and make it one piece. And then I'll unlock. And so the reason I'm doing this is so that when I put a choke on this for the underbase, I don't want it to stroke with computer white, my knockout white, that's going to cut into my halftone. So to give you an idea, it would look like that. And we don't want that. I want a straight underbase, and this is where I'm going to stroke from to the inside. So turn the separation preview off and go to my layers. And I'm going to copy this. First, I'm going to tell it to overprint. Okay, it is. And then I'm going to copy it, paste it back, and then drag that back one down to my base white. So let's see if I still got it there. I do, it's still up in the artwork there. And there it's on my base, but now I need to color it my base white color. Not a stroke, but a fill. We'll change that. And then here, I can add my knockout stroke. Go to that, change it to 0.5. And then I'll change it to stroke to the inside. And now when I hide the shirt color, you can see that it's stroked. I go to separation preview, turn those on, and show my other colors. And you can see that it's choked under the solid and not into the halftone. So my halftone separation is going to print like that for the base, and then the top white. And this is where you see the halftone of the orange. So we can look at that all by itself on just the orange separation. And that all looks Jim Dandy. So view the artwork with the t-shirt colors. And you can see up against a dark shirt background, you can especially see the colors compounding with over the underbase, and also compounding with the shirt color. But keep in mind that shirt color is going to print out in CMYK. So this is the underbase knocking out of the CMYK. If you left the shirt color in there by accident, you would get 4 other separations in your I-Image along with your spot colors. So you don't want any of your artwork to be CMYK by mistake, because you'll get 4 other separations. And we don't want that. You want all spot colors. So that's the separation setup in a nutshell. Now I'm getting ready to save this file, so I'm going to delete the shirt color and come in and enter in the information for my job. I'm going to extend this out a little bit. And so for CTS machines, you want to name art files, art jobs by an art job number, or so that you can pull those up in the computer on the I-Image machine and just do a search and pull this job up again. So it'll be renamed under this job. And so then you have a customer name and then some type of job description. This is Westerwell. I put in here to how many colors are in the file so that the I-Image operator knows how many colors to look for in the file, and that it is a full back. And under colors, we just type in 1 base white, 2 orange, 172, 3 top white. And I was viewing that in separation preview mode. This is the full color mode. And as you can see, the color that I'm using is registration black. Registration black, as you can see in the separations here, will show up on every separation, even though I've typed it out one time. So a way to have your colors then go on each separation as they are supposed to, I would highlight that, change it to the base white, highlight the next one, change it to orange, highlight the top white, change it to top white. And there, this will print out with your base white information, then your orange information, and so on. Same with the registration marks. Those are colored registration with a stroke, 0.75 of the registration color. So that way I only need, if an art element is going on every color, you can change it to registration black. And then again, make sure I select that and then drag that up close to the artwork. And then edit my document and drag the document up to the bottom of the registration mark. And this is the file that I will send. So then I will click save. These don't need to be, these on these layers over here, they don't need to be merged. They don't need to be flattened into just one layer. All of these layers will print with no problem. You can save the file and still have it stacked in layers like this. And so you go to File, Save a Copy. I'm going to save it into my folder. And whatever that name was, let's highlight that. I'll copy that. And now go to File, Save a Copy. And I'll just paste that in to there. And then I'll put SEPs on the end of it. And then you go make sure that you save it as an EPS, use artboard, range 1. That's for page 1, or you got one document in there. Some art files can have multiple pages, and then you'll have a left chest on that, a second one, and then a pocket print on the or a sleeve print on the third page. And so in your art file, you can have 3 different locations in one art file under one job number. But in this case, we only have one page, one location, and we would name that range 1. Click Save. And that's it. So there's one other part that I want to show you, and that's about placing. Here you would just click OK. And now it's ready to be dropped into your hot folder. When you do the save as an EPS range 1, you can even save that directly into your hot folder that might be on your desktop or wherever. So another step to this template is that M&R has a standard process of let me lock these down. M&R has a standard process of, that they teach when they do installs. And that's to save your file as a DCS2. And DCS2 is essentially an EPS, but it's a Photoshop EPS. And that keeps all of your channel separations intact into one file. Again, efficient that way. You don't want to break it out into multiple channels, multiple separations. In doing so, let me switch in to show you the Photoshop file. Share you the Photoshop, go to File, Open, and let me find where I put this. There we go. This just says that the color books in the document, the color book, when I did this artwork, way back when. I was using a color swatch that's not found in the new Photoshop, because Pantone and Photoshop parted ways, and so the color swatches aren't there anymore. But I can open it up and still see my colors that I assigned. And so this separation is already set up with registration marks and color information. So I don't have to do that in my template. I do this for a specific reason. And so you can save this directly into your hot folder for the I-Image RIP. But you have to have the Photoshop document set up a certain way. So it doesn't matter how wide it is, obviously, as long as it's not too wide for the I-Image. But let's say it's 15 inches wide. This one's like 10 and a half, roughly. And I've got my job information and my color information on there, and I did that in layers initially because that's editable, and you can go back and save that type and go back and edit that type in layers. And then once you apply it to channels, you can't edit the type again. So the registration marks are in there. And so what did I wanted to point out? Let's see if I have my guides in here. Yeah, just the center mark guide. But as you can see, if I put a guide here, type would go in here. So later on, type is going to be applied to this job. And it's going to be vector type. So you can print out nice, perfectly clean, very small type in vector that ends up getting converted to raster anyways once it hits the I-Image machine, and it'll get converted at 600 DPI. And but a lot of people like to do that, and in this case, we would put the vector type in Illustrator. But if if this was final art and ready to go, we would simply just take all of our selection channels that we use to build the separations and delete those, and delete the t-shirt color, and delete any RGBs or CMYK, whatever you're working in. So the only thing that we would have left is the actual spot color separations. As you can see here, these are assigned spot colors. And then this now, well, let me show you the file mode. So right now, if you go to image and mode, you'll see I'm working under RGB. As soon as I delete the RGB, the file instantly converts to a multi-channel. It's still 8 bits. That's not going to change. But the multi-channel is just one file, obviously, with multi-channel separations in it. If I broke this out as individual separations, they would become a grayscale file. So these separations are essentially nothing but a grayscale. But when they're all combined in one file, it's a multi-channel separation. Still, they're essentially grayscales. This is why Photoshop will recognize these separations without having to go into Illustrator and place them. But again, M&R's standard process is to place these into Illustrator as an EPS because they're just not as familiar with Photoshop. And so this is something that a procedure that I like to do because it's just more efficient. I mean, why go into another program, save it in another format when I can just save it? If I'm doing the separations in Photoshop, then I can just save it like this and then drop the file straight into the RIP. So here you would go to File, Save as a Copy. You're going to save it as a PSD, but you're just going to give it your job name. steps. And then you don't have to save it as an EPS. You just save it as a PSD, a Photoshop document, because your RIP will read that. And then make sure that you have the spot colors checked. If you don't, then you're not going to be able to save the file because there won't be anything left in the file because all you have in there are spot channels. So make sure you got the spot colors selected and then click on Save. And so I'll show you the other method. At this point, to get to the DCS2, you would also do the same thing. Delete out everything except the spot color separations. And then go to File, Save a Copy, paste in your name. We'll name this Place File, or just Place. Drag down to DCS2. Include spot colors and click Save. Here we'll keep this at TIFF 8-bit pixel. It usually stays based off of the last thing you chose when you did this before, but we're going to keep it at 8-bit. And under the DCS, we're going to keep it under single file with a color composite at 72 pixels per inch. This is going to give you a little tiny preview if you were to click on it. And, you know, here is where you can, at this point, save it under multi-file as a DCS, but with no composite. Or you can do a grayscale composite, or you can do a color composite. But it's still multi-colors will break this out into 10 different files. And that's just too time consuming. You don't want to do that. So always save it with single file color composite. All this down here, you don't need to change. Click OK. And now that file is saved. So I'll close out of this. Don't save it, that changes. And then go back into Illustrator. And then I'll go to File and Place. Now, when I go to Place, I'm looking for that DCS2 file that says Place. When I click on it, the file type, if you go get details, it says encapsulated PostScript file. That's an EPS. And that is your place file. Drag over. And you see it's 107 megs. I'm going to point out to a certain procedure when you place. You need to have, in order to access that, you need to have length checked. Because Illustrator, it runs off of actual hard drive memory, the amount of memory you have on your computer, RAM, sorry. And so it caps out. There's actually a max file size that you can open. The bigger the file you try to open, let's say if it was 2 terabytes, you might crash Illustrator, or it'll freeze up and you won't be able to do anything and you'll have to restart your computer. But these days we got much more memory, and you have little problem with that. But still, the process for Illustrator is to make sure you click on that link button, and then you can click OK or Place, and hit that, and then as you notice, it doesn't look like a good clean file, but it's that 72 pixel resolution. And it's just for a placement. It's not, your quality is still going to be there. So then come in and click on your center. and then you can drag it up into your print area. And these registration marks and information, in this case, you can just delete that because it's actually going to print out on the separations in the file. So you want to drag this up about the area where you're going to, so my live type, my vector type, whatever that might be, I could use one of these Pantone spot colors that came in with the file. These are all the files or all of the separation colors that were used. And you see it goes down through, there's the base white. That was my vector. So I'm going to go to select all unused colors and delete those. Just keep my file nice and clean. And then I'm going to type on here and type in, I don't know, let's put something interesting in. And just change it to something bold and increase the size. Change it to one of the other colors, the spot colors. And we'll center that. And this can be placed at the top. So this will come out in vector. And you can use any one of the spot colors that you have the same that's in this artwork. So in that separation, under separation preview, you would turn off all the other colors, and then you can see that on that separation, your vector artwork. And it's still a live editable type. You know, then here in this case, you could also then stroke it with a green, show the green, stroke, stroke, thicken that up a little bit. But that's how you add vector to the artwork that's already the existing colors in the placed file. And go back to the preview, hide the registration marks or the guides actually, because now it's placed properly and ready to print. And in this case, when you place this file, you then again go to save as a copy. Pull back, SEPs. And again, you would choose EPS, use artboard, range 1. And there you have it. And this would be, I might name it something different to identify it different from the other EPSs. That has type in it. And then this window will pop up, and do not include link files. Then I'll ask you if you want to embed the file. Yes. And there you have that. And you're ready to go. So I've saved that into my work folder. But you would save it directly into your hot folder if you wanted, or you can save it into another, into that working folder, however. But just make sure that you add art numbers or job numbers or PO numbers, so that if that's what you go by the whole time, then the guy in a screen room, when they get a reorder, they can pull that up under the job number and then look it up in their archive. But that's pretty much it in a nutshell. I think I did not go over the left chest. So let's take a look at that again. Go to the I-Image template. Yeah, so if I had an element in here that was black, and well, let me put in type. That didn't work. Let's say that's stacked. If this was a left chest, it would go over here, because this would be like as if the person is wearing it. Right chest obviously would go over here. And if this was a sleeve print or a pocket print, then you would flip this. And put it back into position, centered up to that top line. And again, this is all live area, but then this is your starting point for your artwork, 2 inches down in the template. And then the registration mark, don't forget to pull that up if you can grab it. Pull that up close to the file, and then crop the artwork up to the bottom. These files will print out in like 10 seconds, and then you expose it for whatever your emulsion is exposing at the time. That might be another 3 to 5 seconds, sometimes 10 seconds on your LED exposure unit. And then you're done. So yeah, that's the left chest, the sleeves. That left chest set is 4 inches from the center, and then 4 inches left from the center for the right sleeve or the right chest. And that's about it. Okay. Thanks for watching. I know it was a little long, but I covered everything pretty much in detail, I believe. So we'll stop here. And end. Recording pause.